260 and 261 is probably the most controversial chapters that came out of the Shinjuku Showdown, the Sukuna Raid, the final battle arc of Jujutsu Kaisen. Before this chapter specifically played on the grief, the despair, and the hope that Gojo's fans had that Gojo will return in the series, that our favorite character wasn't dead. It isn't up for debate that Gojo is probably one of the most important characters to the series, but also one of the most popular characters in pop culture this generation. His untimely death, his off-screen death by Sukuna's world slash, was probably one of the most devastating blow that the fandom has ever experienced. I mean, the day the leaks dropped, everybody thought the spoilers was fake. You know, Gege was going through his health conditions, so nobody expected Gojo to die. So when it finally hit, later on, 11 o'clock Eastern time, when I woke up and looked at my phone, everybody on the timeline was going crazy. So with chapter 260 ending with the ghost of Gojo in the background and Sukuna feeling the presence of Gojo, everybody thought Gege was cooking a masterclass of a chapter that will push the story and the character development of the cast forward. Or were we wrong? Chapter 261 wasn't for the Gojo fans. It was a major W for the Yuta fans when we discovered that Yuta used Kenjaku's ability to take over Gojo's body to continue the fight in Sukuna. From a storytelling perspective, Yuta was the perfect candidate to pick up the mantle to take over Gojo's fallen body. See, we know Gege likes to play around with a lot of the Japanese norms and their culture, and one of the things he played on was disrespecting somebody's body before burial. And by Yuta taking over Gojo's body, he was essentially disrespecting his master. Outside of that, it's way deeper than that. From the introduction of Yuta's character in Volume 0, Gojo was the person who saved Yuta from hurting himself. Yuta viewed himself as a monster because of his curse, Rika. But Gojo, Maki, and etc. gave Yuta hope, made him believe that he can have something to live for. He became a human again. And Yuta's character represents the most important aspect of a human character, and that's love. So having him disrespect his master's body by taking over it and becoming a monster was the perfect way to continue the character growth of Yuta. This decision still left everybody shocked, just like Sukuna looking at Gojo's dead body and saying, "Yuta, I didn't think you were capable of going this far," acknowledging Yuta and applauding him for him finally discarding his humanity, something that was hinted on during the Culling game. Shock value was perfect. Sukuna's reaction to Yuta's decision was perfect. Yuta being the character to do this, perfect. And let's talk about the dialogue that happened during this chapter. Chapter 261 even made the basic Yuta hater recognize that Yuta's speech in this chapter was very important, and it left a lot of us speechless. Really, at the start of the chapter, Yuta loses his cool. He was trying to make a plan to defeat Sukuna, and everybody was telling him his plan was risky, and a lot of people were just bickering and talking, and Yuta finally snapped and yelled, "What about Gojo Sensei? Wasn't he important? We always let him be the monster." See, the important thing about Gojo's character was that he was the strongest sorcerer of the modern era. So any issue that took place in the Jujutsu Kaisen world, he was the Superman of the verse. Gojo's resolve was to make sure the kids under him can continue to live as children, happy. So he will take on every hard decision and essentially becoming a monster. For example, killing his one and only best friend to make sure the kids of Jujutsu Kaisen society were safe. Yuta said that if no one has the guts to become the monster, then he will step up and become the monster. Gege has finally given us some insight in what he believes in this concept to become a monster. See, a lot of it has been vague throughout the series, but based on the conversation that Uru had with Yuta, I always interpreted it as you have to lose your humanity, become something greater, a monster, like Sukuna became a monster. It's the version of true power, because humans can never surpass their emotions, and Urame further enforced this idea with her conversation with Hikari, you know, their off-screen fight. And I have a video to talk about how that was another missed opportunity but anyways, it gave us another flashback of Gojo, Yuta, Maki, Inumaki, or if I'm saying his name right, but he's not important, and Panda. Gojo has finally decided to do something that he hinted on doing in Volume 0, and that's killing the higher-ups. And he finally did it. Yuta tells him, stop trying to be the monster all on your own, and Gojo thinks to himself, I can't do that. That day I was left behind, so I have to catch up. And the person that was shown was Geto. See, Geto discarded his humanity to fight for a greater purpose. He became a monster to make a world where sorcerers would be safe. The same perspective that Gojo has, but Gojo just wanted to take care of everything on his own. Still, we get an understanding that it takes a sacrifice of your humanity to bring forward a better future. Put the cherry on top, we see the operation of Yuta entering Gojo's body. When I mean Gege was cooking with chapter 260 and 261, it was like he was serving us a well-medium ribeye steak that was butter-based to perfection on a platter. The moment you finally bite into it, you realize it's a vegan steak made out of cabbage, and the only right answer left is violence, because why am I eating a cabbage steak? This is exactly how it felt reading everything that happened after chapter 260 and 261. To this day, I still don't understand what was Gege's purpose of adding this epic character moment for Yuta in the Shinjuku Showdown, just for it to go absolutely nowhere. And I know somebody's gonna say, well, the whole purpose was for Yuta to save Yuji because Sukuna was about to use his domain expansion. As much as I love to agree, and I tried to use that as my defense on Twitter when this first happened, the more I reflect on it, nothing came out of this character moment. In his defense, we did see some inner dialogue of Yuta thinking about Gojo, and he did fire off a purple, destroying both barriers. But outside of that, I would love for Gege just to sit in this moment and allow Yuta to actually dissect, be vulnerable in this situation. I mean, allow his emotions to get the best of him. He's literally fighting in his master's body. And yes, the end of the world is at stake, but it's okay for Yuta, the character that's known for being human, to have a human experience with the loss of his master. There was still hope after the purple was shot off. We actually thought Yuta was going to continue fighting in Gojo's body because he had more time and team up with Todo and Yuji. But right before that trio got started to fight against Sukuna, Yuta just passes out because he misjudged how long he would have in Gojo's body. Bro, and when I tell you, us Yuta fans was on the timeline fighting for our lives, because a lot of people were saying Yuta destroyed Gojo's aura, which makes sense. Gojo was the strongest, and Yuta even asks how long did he train to become the strongest. It still doesn't take away from the fact that there was no consequences when it came to this decision. This amazing decision for Yuta to discard his humanity and become a monster, because at the end of the day, he magically ended up back in his body, and now he's living happily ever after as the Gojo clan leader and having Maki by his side. Like, he bagged the baddest female in the series, and bro's just chilling. Now I just feel like those last 4 chapters of Yuta being a participant in the Shinjuku Showdown was just for shock value, just to give everybody a hype moment that Gojo came back. Yuta finally got the recognition from Sukuna for being a monster. Outside of that, nothing really happened. This is just something to add to the long list of missed opportunities led to the massive backlash that the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen received. But that's just how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.